And joining me now is another one, the mayor of Los Angeles, California, Karen Bass. Mayor Bass, thank you for being with us. You led a discussion on homelessness, which was a major issue addressed during the conference. This is especially pertinent as people on the streets are braving dangerously high temperatures this summer. Meanwhile, Los Angeles saw a 10% increase last year among its unhoused population. What is driving this rise? What is your administration doing to combat this issue?
Absolutely. And the numbers for 2023 actually reflect 2022. We will get 2023 numbers this week, and we're encouraged because we hear that it has gone down. But, you know, basically, it is fundamentally the rising cost of housing that is being experienced all across the country. And you should note, Rev, that one of the fastest growing sectors of the unhoused population are senior citizens, people in their late 60s and 70s, disproportionately African-American women who've essentially been priced out of the housing market. So this is something that I think there's a lot of stereotypes and misunderstandings as to who the unhoused population are. But I'm very concerned because this week, the Supreme Court is going to rule on a decision that could introduce a whole new wave of mass incarceration.
Yeah, I want to talk to you specifically about that. The Supreme Court is expected to rule this month on whether municipalities can criminalize people from sleeping or camping in public areas such as sidewalks and parks. According to the Vera Institute of Justice, criminalizing poverty also perpetuates cycles of homelessness and incarceration while deepening racial inequity. This, as formerly incarcerated people are nearly 10 times more likely to experience homelessness than the general public, and Black and Indigenous people are more likely to experience homelessness than other racial groups. For instance, in Los Angeles County, Black people make up about 8% of the total population, but 34% of the unhoused population. What impact could this Supreme Court ruling have on your city? What would it mean?
Well, I am happy to say that in Los Angeles, we will resist ticketing people and criminalizing poverty. I am concerned about cities across the country because people are very frustrated. Homelessness is a difficult issue, but it is absolutely solvable. We have been getting people off the streets. And one of the stereotypes is that people who are on the street don't want to leave. That's just simply not true. We have a program where we go to people in the tents. We put them in motels with supportive services from community-based organizations, and we are expediting buildings so we can get them out of motels and into permanent housing with supportive services. But what I am concerned about is that if the Supreme Court rules the way I believe they will, considering how conservative this court is, it will usher in a whole new wave of giving people tickets, warrants, and cycling in and out of jail. And we know how to solve this problem, and that is not the way to solve it.
And as you know, I, as head of National Action Network, we have an office and a chapter there, and you aggressively have dealt with this issue of homelessness when you're in Congress and as coming in as mayor. This is not a new battle for you to set the alarm on what the Supreme Court could do is right in consistent with what you've tried to be about for years. Let's turn to Donald Trump's dehumanizing language about migrants last night in Philadelphia, where he told the crowd, he floated the idea of a migrant fight club in UFC, and he said he told this to UFC President Dana White. Trump has also made disparaging comments about rounding up the homeless and swift execution of drug dealers. What goes through the minds of mayors when they hear all this stuff from someone who, with a very good chance of being elected president again?
Well, I'll tell you what goes through my mind is that I'm going to double and triple down my efforts to make sure that he never gets close to the White House again. He has told us over and over again the type of leader he is going to be. We had 4 years with him, and he would come back and be 10 times worse than he was before. I think that we understand that if he were to get back into the White House, it would have devastating impacts for cities because he would support and rally and lead the way for the criminalization of migrants and of people who are unhoused and people poor in general. And so we have to take him very seriously. Here you have a man who has, 34 felony convictions, is facing 60 more indictments, and how he could even be considered a legitimate candidate for president. I think this is an example of a sad chapter in U.S. history.
The latest FBI statistics point to a historic drop in crime in the first quarter of this year, including the murder rate, which fell at one of the fastest rates ever recorded. What have you heard from other mayors at the conference about crime-fighting efforts? Will crime prove to be a significant issue for voters this November, in your judgment?
Well, I think that it is liable to, mainly because the Republicans are going to ignore the fact that crime has decreased and just want to talk about crime increasing. But all of us have to understand that crime cycles. It goes up, it goes down. There is the potential for it to go up in the summer, especially as we experience historic heat. But you shouldn't pass policies when crime cycles up or down. And so I think we need to continue to have a comprehensive approach, which means we do everything we can to prevent crime from taking place in the first place, intervene when crime occurs, and then when people commit crimes, they have to be held accountable, but they should be held accountable in a just way, not in disproportionate ways in particular communities.
Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass, thank you for being with us again.